She's an award-winning writer, a hunting guide, archery and rifle instructor, keynote speaker, and all-around outdoors woman who encourages you to get outside, hunt, fish, shoot, and savor all that life has to offer. And now, here's your host, Mia Anstine.
Well, hey, hi, hello, you all. I'm so happy to be visiting with you again. Today, I want to share with you a friend in the industry, a colleague in the industry that I have met at different events where I have volunteered, which we will chat about a little bit. But I'm going to be sharing with you some fishing today, which I tried to do a fishing series over the summer, which probably wasn't the appropriate time to do that because guess where everybody was? They were fishing. But if you haven't noticed, we did have quite a few fishermen, anglers on the show, more than we normally have. And so we're going to continue that a little bit with my friend Rhonda. And I also wanted to share with you, I was supposed to go on a cast and blast in Idaho with Hammer Down, and they have a jet boat adventure. And then we were going to be fishing for sturgeon and steelhead. And then we were going to be hunting for chukar. And unfortunately, due to some family events, somebody in the family wasn't doing well. We had to cancel the trip, and we'll be doing that in a future date. So I'll share more about that in the future. But I'm mentioning that trip because in the show notes, I have a link to a Amazon shop page because I have an Amazon affiliate page. And on that, it's a fishing adventure page that there are links there to different items. And with the Amazon shop, it's no extra charge to you if you use a link, but it does help support the show. So anything that you do is always appreciated. I don't have paid advertisements on here. I just have affiliate links, and the affiliates that I have, WSI Sports, and I'm going to be soon having Vormy on, and those Tarn Cap gear, if you purchase from them, it helps support the show. So I appreciate that because I basically do it on my own dime, as I will mention today. Like I do lots of things on my own dime, but it's quite rewarding to help empower others and inspire them. And I hope today's episode inspires you. If it's your first time stopping by, I appreciate you. And for my longtime listeners, as always, thank you for being here. If you would like to reach out with any comments, show topic ideas, or anything like that, you can direct message me on social media or you can email me. The email address is contact@miaanstine.com. I appreciate the messages and comments that I get. They are wonderful. And I always love the interaction. You guys are part of a community that I really do cherish. So, anyways, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Stay tuned.
This summer, whether at the range or in the field, WSI Sports Hypertech bamboo tanks, tees, and leggings will have you covered. Visit WSISports.com to support the show and use the affiliate code MACO10 for 10% off your purchase. All products are proudly made in the USA. WSI is bringing back pride in American-made clothing. Again, that code is MACO10 for 10% off your order at WSISports.com.
I'm Rhonda Pitts, angler, and I do tournaments. And I just came back from Canada fishing the Pan American Black Bass Championship, World Championship, and the USA won gold. Woohoo! And go Team USA. So I've had a really, really good year on the tournament circuit. I fished a tournament at the end of August for the East Texas Lady Anglers, came in third. Then September 7th, I fished one with the East Texas Lady Anglers and won. Then went from there to Canada and won gold, and came back and did the Lady Bass Anglers Association Classic in Oklahoma and came in second there. So September and August have, or not September and August, September and October have been a blur.
And okay, and I should have written down each one. How many is that do you do like one a week?
It's one or two a month.
One or two a month. Yeah. Okay. And so all of the ones that you're doing, it's lady bass anglers, or is it just co-ed?
No, so the East Texas Lady Anglers is a bass club, and it's strictly women fishing. So, we have some guys helping us out with weigh in and dumping boats in and, getting us out on the water and all that. But the anglers are all female.
Awesome.
Uh, the LBAA, which is the Lady Bass Anglers Association, uh, it's a club of strictly female anglers. And then also I fish with the WBT, which is the Women's Bass Tour, and again, all lady anglers. So it's very exciting to get to, go out and fish with folks that are like minded, and you don't have to worry about who you're getting in the boat with, and because if you go and do some of the other tournaments that are co-ed, you hope your boater's going to be okay, but you never know nowadays who you're going to choose or who's going to get picked for you. So it takes a lot of the stress out of the day, and it's a lot of camaraderie. And they're all competitive, but at the end of the day, we're there to have fun and support each other and kick each other's teeth in.
Oh gosh. It's nice that you can say that with a smile. If you're not watching this podcast episode, she definitely has a big smile on. And I would be smiling too, not just because you're kicking people's teeth in, but you've really been winning everything. I mean, it's from what I've seen. I don't know how many tournaments are going on, but it's like every time I turn around, I see you winning another tournament. And so, can you tell us a little bit? Maybe let's start with, how did you get started in the tournaments? What caused you to want to join tournaments?
So actually, I was kind of pushed into that by my husband. He had some illnesses, and he knows how much I like to fish, and so he wasn't able to get on the water. So he pushed me into going into the tournament series, and I wasn't all about. I'm not a very competitive person by nature, so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But he pushed me into it, and I have really, really enjoyed it. I've been doing it about 3 years now. So, but this year has been uh, a spectacular year. I will say it. This is my best year so far, and hopefully, it only gets better from here. So.
Yeah, and did you grow up fishing, or was that kind of with your husband you started fishing too, or did you have a background beforehand?
Well, yeah, I fished with, mom and dad growing up, and dad was one of those, we went out can to can. We started fishing when you could see and stopped fishing when we couldn't see. And I never have been a real morning person. So, about mid morning, I'm done. I'm ready to go home. And, my dad would always pick on me, and he'd say, I'm never bringing you back. So then 2016, I was on 1,800 milligrams of gabapentin a day.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that's a lot. And I felt totally brain dead. And, I was beginning to wonder about my sanity, and, if I was going to go into senility early. And so Joe and my husband and I were talking about it. He said, well, let's go fishing and get you out in the sunshine, because we were never outside. All of our hobbies were indoors. So 2016, we started fishing and out in the sun at least 2 days a week, for several hours at a time. And in 2016, I weaned myself off the gabapentin, and I haven't had any since. So fishing literally has saved my life.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that part of your story. So that I find incredible. Although I know that the outdoors is a way to heal yourself. And gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you about that. Are you thinking that it's just being able to kind of have a release that's helped you, or just overall healing? How is what? Tell me what's behind the scenes.
I believe it's the vitamin D that your body absorbs in the sunshine. We were meant to be out in the sun. You hear about sunscreen and, protect yourself from the sun. And while it can be damaging, you need so much of it, because your body actually absorbs nutrients from the sunshine. And, we all have an indoor life, and everything revolves around something inside. We all work inside now, and in offices, and my office at work never has a window, so you don't see the sunshine except maybe 20 or 30 minutes at lunch, and that's only while you're driving to and from. And so I believe just being in the sunshine, whether it's a cloudy day or a sunny day, I can literally tell a difference in my body when I don't get to go fishing versus when I do. And it's been life changing, really.
Wow. I think that it's awesome that you've found that healing aspect through being outdoors, through fishing. And so when your husband said, let's go fishing, were you out on a bass boat and out on the lakes, or did you have a variety of scenery around you?
So actually, he joined a duck club. He doesn't duck hunt. I don't duck hunt, but they have reservoirs on the duck lease. So he joined the duck club just so we could go and fish the reservoir. So we bought like a
Oh.
little flat bottom John boat. It doesn't have an outboard on it. It's 14 foot long, and it has a trolling motor on it. It has no electronics, and we just go out on those 70-acre ponds and fish and have fun. And we're the only ones out there, and um, it's like a new lease on life.
That's awesome. And so when you were talking about gabapentin, w- can you tell us what was going on, why you were on that? Did you have pain, or what is it specifically treating?
So I was diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy.
Okay.
So, the tingling and the hurting, and I literally felt like I had the flu all the time. I know most people talk more about, their feet going to sleep and their hands going to sleep, but it affected my whole body to where I did. I felt like I had the flu all the time. You know how your body just aches and hurts all the time. I didn't have energy to do anything. Even though I pushed myself and made myself go and do things, I didn't have the energy to do it.
Hmm.
And put 1,800 milligrams of gabapentin on top of it, and I really didn't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
I was like a zombie walking around.
Wow. That's a lot. And it's something that I'm specifically curious about because I have family members who have similar issues going on. And of course, they're kind of being science experiments right now. And so maybe I can have them listen to this episode and tell them to get outside and go fishing, or, go do something healthy outdoors. And so you haven't had to take that. Do you attribute it also? Have you made any other lifestyle changes, or just specifically getting outside?
Mostly it's just being outside in the sun, and, being in nature. If it's not, fishing, it could be coming out your way going to Colorado. And even though we don't hike, we do like to get outside, and we'll go trout fishing in some of your lakes and rivers up there. And one day we may come to an elk, who knows? But it's literally just being outside and being connected with nature that I think we have lost somewhere down the line. It was a gradual thing that pushed us indoors, but I really think we all need to get back outdoors and start enjoying what the good Lord has provided for us.
I 100% agree. And even for me included, it seems like since 2020, it's fortunate in a sense that we're able to do a lot of more virtual things like we're doing right now. But also, I end up in a lot of meetings for a lot of time. And you mentioned about, not seeing the outside and stuff like that. And I feel it in my body when I have to specifically schedule breaks. Like, okay, I am not going to be in front of the computer for this many hours, or, schedule time to be away because it hurts my body personally. But I think trying to specifically get out and do some of these things is great. And so with the bass anglers and everything that you do, you said you've been having a phenomenal year. And is it something that you've learned as you've gone, or what do you attribute to the successes that you've been having?
I don't really know how to answer that. I believe I've gotten more comfortable. When I first started tournament fishing, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well. If I came in and didn't, if I felt like I didn't do well, I caught one fish and didn't catch a limit, then, I was really, really hard on myself. And because I know I'm better than that, I know I can catch fish if there are fish. And this year, I just approached it as I'm just going fishing. And so I think taking the pressure off myself and just letting myself have some fun on the water, I think it's paid off.
And so when we go to the tournaments, if I've never been in a bass fishing tournament. Actually, I'm trying to think if I've been in any fishing tournaments. I don't think I have. I've fished a lot, but never in a competition. I don't want to get my teeth kicked in. um,
In a way.
but if you're headed to tournaments, what are some of the things what do you do to get ready for a tournament to prepare yourself for that? I mean, you said you've taken some pressure off, but I'm sure you still have some routines or preparations that you do.
So, well, you have to prepare your tackle and your rods and reels, and plan ahead of time what types of lures you plan on fishing. Which techniques you plan on using before you ever even get there. So you look at the weather and you look at the weather patterns and the barometer, and you look and see what the lake is doing, what the water temperatures are doing, uh what time of year it is, because you can fish seasonal patterns. And so when we went to Canada, we had the tundra loaded to the gills, and I wound up using basically one bait the entire time I was there. So that, the same type of bait there the whole time. But I had it if I needed it, so I didn't have to worry about, oh my God, what if I need a so and so and I don't have one?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I fish normally as a co-angler, because I don't have a lot of time to go pre-fishing and, pick out spots and do all the things that a boater would have to do. So, I just show up the day before the tournament and go to the meeting, and then I just go out and go fishing and have fun. And so far it's worked out for me this year. I hope I hope it continues.
I do also, because it's so fun to kind of root for you from afar. You don't even know, like, we're like, yeah, she did it. And I know you had said that you had a tournament coming up and that maybe we could talk about that when I had asked you to be on the show. And then so I've been keeping an eye out, and I actually don't spend a lot of time on social media, but you pop up. And every time, so you popped up, and
Uh,
I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I saw the picture today of you with your 2025 USA Bass Team Champion. And so that was super cool to see. It made me smile because I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to hear more about what's going on. So tell us about the last tournament. This was it on the just yesterday?
so the last tournament was the LBAA Classic. That was last week.
Last week.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So we got in from Canada. I had a couple of days off. We got in on Tuesday. I left the following Tuesday for Oklahoma, and we fished Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It was a 3-day tournament, and I came in second there. So I was super pleased with second place. I was 1.1 pounds out of the lead.
Wow.
So all I was missing was a kicker fish for 2 days, and I would have had it. But that's why they call it fishing and not catching. But I was super pleased with second place.
Super cool. And so when you are talking about the weights and stuff, when you catch it, you immediately weigh it and then you throw it back. Is that how you do? Or do you guys have to keep them in the live well until you go check in?
Yeah, so we do a live weigh-in. So you keep your fish in the live well, and you get to go up on stage, and they put it in the basket and tell you how much it weighs. And you go on stage and they interview you, and so it's pretty neat the way they do it. We don't have the resources in the women's sports to do the weigh it, release it kind of thing like they do in the MLF. So we're more like the Bassmasters, where you bring your 5 fish into if you're a boater, you bring 5 fish in. If you're a co-angler, you bring 3 fish in and weigh them in at the end of the day and see how it all shakes out.
And so why is it different for the boater? Why do they have to have a couple more?
Because they get to fish the water first.
Oh, okay.
They're in the front of the boat, so they get to cover the water first, and then the co-angler has to come in behind them and catch fish. So, sometimes that's a little harder to do than being up there on the front of the boat where you get to pick all of your, you get to pick all the choice spots first.
Yeah.
So,
And when we're fishing the rivers here, we call that fishing the dirty water. So we get the
yeah,
seconds. Do you call that the same in bass fishing?
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It's been interesting to me to kind of hear the differences in terminology and stuff between different types of fishing. So that's something that I completely understand. It's in the fly fishing world. It's kind of like the guides are racing to be the first ones on the river to float down because they don't want to
Right,
fish the dirty water.
exactly. Exactly. And in the boat, you'll pull into a cove and you're like, oh, there's a boat in here. Do we want to stay or do we want to go? So uh and a lot of times you just leave and go find another place that you hope someone hadn't already been there. So, yeah, but in 8 hours in a day, more than likely a boat's been in there, at one point or another. So, but the fish may not have been there when they were there, so
Right. They might still be snoozing or not hungry or something like that. And
right.
so when you have the boater brings in 5 fish, do they pick the top 3 of their fish?
No, they weigh all 5 fish.
They weigh all 5 fish. And so then you guys are kind of scored as a boater and as the angler that's with them. So it's separate category.
Yes, it's totally separate category. All of the boaters or pros, as they call them, they have they compete against each other, and then all the co-anglers compete against each other. So it's completely separate.
Okay, interesting. I'm learning so much. And so you are usually the co-angler, you said. Is that because you said you kind of don't want to take the boat or you don't have the time to go pre-scout?
Yeah, time is my enemy because I have so much that I want to do. So I have to schedule, okay, I've got to be here and I got to be here, and I've only got so much vacation time. And so, some of the tournaments are during the week and, some of them are on the weekend. And so you kind of pick and choose, and then you got to balance everything with how much vacation time you've got. So uh, it's due to the lack of vacation and because I don't have ample, just available time. Uh, the only way really that I can do it and be successful is to go as a co-angler.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be something that's kind of a blessing to be able to do that instead of having to be the one taking that extra day off to go scout out and stuff like that. And when you have had this great year, there's so many questions I have because while I bass fish, I'm not competing or anything like that. And for me, I'm just kind of like, oh, this isn't working. Let me try something else. That's kind of how I work it. Or like, oh, today I feel like this color is good for me. Or
Right.
how have you learned over the years what is working and what's not? Is it a science?
Some of it's science, some of it's luck, some of it's trial and error. It's it just kind of depends on the day and how finicky the fish are. Um, I know at the Pan Am, I threw one color the first day, and that's all they would hit. And then the second day, they wouldn't hit that color, and I had to change colors. And so, it just depends on the fish and the day, and whether the sun's out or whether it's not out, and if it's raining or not raining, and all of those fun things. So
Yeah, and how many hours are you out there? I mean, how much time do you have? Because to me, I'm thinking if it's a tournament, it's like, okay, they weren't biting it. Do you see the fish come and like not want to take it, and so you switch up, or how are you doing this in a limited amount of time?
yeah, so normally we go out at safe light, so at daylight, and then weigh in is usually 3:30, depending on the size of the club or the tournament, depending on how many anglers, how many boats there are. There may be one flight where like everybody comes back in at the same time, or there could be two flights where, the first set of anglers go out and then there's a second set of anglers go out. So the first set of anglers would come back at 3 and the second set of anglers would come back at 3:30. So, so you have pretty much an 8-hour day to go out and do what you're going to do.
And does that get exhausting for you? Or is it just fun the whole time? Time flies.
It depends on how well they're biting. If you're catching a lot, time really does fly. If you're catching really, really big ones, time really, really does fly. But yeah, I mean, especially if you're fishing, the LBAA Classic was a 3-day tournament. So yeah, by the third day, everybody was exhausted, just walking around, and I'm so tired, So, but you just have to pace yourself and just know that, hey, it's fixing to be over and we'll go rest and we'll do this again tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the group of ladies, how many ladies are generally registered in a tournament? Is there kind of an average?
It depends on the club. We had 21 boats at the LBAA Classic, so there was 42 anglers total. I know at the LBAA normal tournaments, they have between, 15 to 20 boats. So it's about the same. And some of the smaller clubs, may have 10 or less. So, it just kind of depends on, which club you're fishing and what area you're fishing, what lake you're on. If it's a bucket list lake, then, more people are going to show up. So, um, it just varies.
Yeah. And is it kind of the same group of ladies all the time, or does it vary just depending on the region and people's schedules?
It mostly varies depending on the club, the circuit that you're fishing. So like the LBAA, they have regulars that fish theirs. The WBT have regulars that fish theirs, and the East Texas Lady Anglers, they have regulars that fish there. And some of them fish all three. So, like I said, it just depends because, the WBP and WBT and the East Texas Ladies, they fish more regional, closer to home, where the LBAA is going to go to Florida and North Carolina. And, they're going to go further away, and not everybody can make those long trips.
Oh, that makes sense. And so you were saying that you're a co-angler. Are you considered a professional angler, or just the person with the boat is the professional?
The LBAA they're all professional leagues.
Okay.
So all three of them are professional leagues. So even though you are a co-angler, you are considered a pro.
Okay. Because I don't know if you can see on the screen, I have you as lady angler because I was like, I don't know if I write professional lady angler. Like I wasn't sure with the title. So I was like, I don't want to put something incorrectly.
No, fine.
Because I mean, I could make up my own wonderful title for you, but
Hey guys, are you looking for a stylish concealed carry shirt? Check out Tarn Cap Gear. With print reducing patterns, concealed carry snaps, and minimal branding, Tarn Cap's cloak of invisibility is what you have been waiting for. Visit mia.limited/tarncap and use the code Anstine for 10% off your purchase. Again, that's mia.limited/tarncap and use code Anstine for 10% off your order.
we've talked a little bit about your tournaments, or I should say probably quite a bit about your tournaments, but I also mentioned that I met you at the She Never Quit event. And are you going to be doing that again this coming year?
So I'm really glad you asked that. So yes, I will be at She Never Quit next year at G2 Ranch. And I was just recently elected as a board member for WOMA.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm going to try and help, get some more fishing events and, be on the angling side more than the shooting side. I'll let you guys handle that. Even though I like to go and participate, that's y'all's expertise. So hopefully we can get more, fishing events. And I know G2 Ranch has got several lakes on it. And I think that's going to be part of the curriculum next year.
Very good. Well, I am glad I asked. And now I've got a whole bunch of other questions that are gonna go through my head. I always have these, like, influx of questions, and I try to just keep on one path because sometimes I just see a squirrel and head off the other direction, but I know last year you were teaching at the event. What's
Mhm.
your goal when you're teaching at those kinds of things?
Mostly it's just to bring new blood into the sport, to show folks that, ladies, kids, adults, men, whoever, that it's not really as hard as you think it is. And you can do this too. Even though you think you can't do it and it looks really complicated, it's not that bad. And, you can get out there and throw a rod and you can throw a bait and, uh, you can catch a fish.
Awesome. Did they catch some fish last year? I'm usually teaching archery while you guys are fishing, so I'm always kind of bummed that I don't get to see what the fishing is doing. But did you
Yeah.
guys catch some fish?
So actually, we just did a casting class
Oh,
in
okay.
the art. So, it was basically just a beginner's, here's how you hold a rod, here's how you open the bail, this is the motion you use to cast. And because most of the ladies that were there last year that came out had never held a rod in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's super basic, and I had casting weights on, and there's still one of my casting weights in one of the trees out there. So bless her heart. I don't know who it was, but she cast it. As soon as she let go, a big, huge gust of wind came up because it's always windy in Texas, and it straight into the tree. And she was like, "Oh my god, I lost." I'm like, "Don't worry, it's not that deal. I have more." So we just went over there and cut it off and tied another one on, and went back to casting. So, but yeah, it's super fun to see, everybody's eyes light up when they actually make a what they call a decent cast their first time, and oh, I can do this. So I know last year at the Pan American was in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is not far from where I live. So I went over and they did a kids derby on the catfish pond right there at the marina. And so, we got to teach the kids to, we would cast and then we would teach them to cast. And a lot of them, it was their first time to ever catch a fish, and they were catching catfish out of the catfish pond. And, just to see the looks on their faces, when they would catch that first fish and they would get so excited. You take it off the hook and you try to hand it to them. You say, okay, now you have to touch it. No, I'm not touching
And
it.
hopefully they outgrow that eventually, right? Do you do a lot of teaching? I mean, I knew about She Never Quit, but now you're mentioning the youth thing. Do you do a lot of stuff like that? Like, do you volunteer or do you do it for work also?
I would no, it's not my work. It would be better if it were my work. But when I get an opportunity to go out and help, especially help kids or ladies or, anybody who's trying to get into fishing, I'm always for that because that's how we're going to make the sport grow.
Yeah, we can't just enjoy it for ourselves. You gotta pass it on to the next generation, and I too do a lot of that, and I too do it for volunteering as well, but it's the smiles are the payment, I think, and I think down the road too, as you mentioned, just passing it on and having other people understand, like, what you do and stuff like that is really great. When you were teaching at She Never Quit, did you give them a background about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, a little bit I did. You know, just kind of hit the highlights and just so they knew that I really did know what I was talking about a little bit anyway. So
And
yeah,
so
I
go ahead.
really did. So
Yeah. And so this year, when you go to teach, tell me, if you can practice right now, like introduce yourself to the class.
let's see here. I'm Rhonda Pitts, and I do tournament fishing. I was on the USA Bass team in 2024, and we went to Canada and won the gold medal for USA at the Black Bass World Championships. So we're going to be doing a little casting today. I'm going to give you some tips and techniques and get you where you can throw the rod and the bait and make it land where you want it to.
Perfect. You've been practicing already. And I only wanted to put you on the spot for that because you seem like you're very modest, which actually a lot of volunteers at She Never Quit are very modest about what they've accomplished in their lives. And I've always been taught like to not brag about yourself, but
Right.
there are times where I feel like you should, and I don't call it bragging, but let people know your accomplishments because you've worked hard for those accomplishments. And I think you should be very proud about them because I'm proud for you.
Well, thank you. I'm pretty proud for them myself. And like you said, if they don't know who you are, they don't know who you are.
Mhm.
And the only way they're going to find out is if you tell them. So
That's
it's kind
right.
of old, if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know.
Very true. And I think sometimes with the small little circles we have in social media, people assume that you know who they are. And I really feel bad sometimes because, as I said, I don't spend a lot of time searching around on social media. I might open it and scroll a couple scrolls and I'm out. And
Right.
I have some ladies that I admire them. I know who they are, but they don't ever show up in whatever Facebook or in Instagram or whoever wants to put in my face. So I don't see them. And one of them I hadn't seen in probably 8 or 9 years, and I saw last year at a conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really bad because I didn't recognize them, which I'm older too, like whatever. And I'm not saying that they looked old or anything, but it didn't dawn on me who it was till they had walked away, and I felt like I was very rude. But I think sometimes, and even people who follow us on social media, we feel like we're friends, and then you see them in person, and I'm like, "Who are you?" Like, I don't know. so, so don't feel bad if you see Mia and you have to introduce yourself because I really do try to remember, but sometimes it's a lot.
I, and the USA Bass team is in Italy right now fishing the World Tournament. And Joey Fuentes is a Bassmaster Elite Pro, and he's from Arkansas. And he always wears a cowboy hat when he's fishing. And they took team photos and everybody had to wear the USA Bass ball cap. And so I'm looking at the photo and I'm like, I know who that is. I know who that is. And I'm like, who is that on the end of there? And so I really had to, and it was Joey, but he didn't have his cowboy hat on. So it was harder to recognize him. So when you're used to seeing, when you see folks on social media and their pictures and they've got like their jersey on and their ball cap on and, all of the things, and then you meet them in real life and they have street clothes on, well, you don't look the same as you do when you're on the water or in the woods or, at the gun range or wherever it is that, you're used to seeing folks on social media. So, um, yeah, it's like, you dress up pretty good.
Very true. Well, now you've given me another excuse for when I don't recognize people. You look different without your camouflage on or your winter coat. I did have that with one of the more I mean, in the outdoor hunting industry, one of the more A-listers several years ago walked past me, and the gentleman, he was very slender, and from his shows, I guess because he always had a winter coat on, I thought he was a much larger person. And my daughter was so embarrassed because I didn't recognize him. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so humiliated.
Well, and the camera does add weight to you also. So, when you do meet some folks, it's like, okay, that's not really what I was expecting, but cool.
Dang it. Well, just for the listeners, I'm not trying to make excuses. I just sometimes have it happen. And it is quite embarrassing.
But if
um,
I start talking, that's when I recognize them. Because
right.
I have a thing with voices. And so, I can recognize someone's voice from another room and know who's talking. So, once 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 the vocal cords start up, then I can generally key in on who it is, especially if I've met them before. If it's someone who's
Mhm.
just a social media friend, then Yeah, it may happen or it may not. So,
Right. Yeah. And I'm with you on that one. I've always been one that I can recognize voices. And, or like you're on the phone and you hear somebody and it's like, I know this is what they look like. You see them in person, they don't. But
right.
then I still remember who they were because of their voice. So that's very cool. And this year at She Never Quit, last year, did you have tournaments you went to or you came from work? And I know you didn't get to spend the whole entire time there. But do you think you'll get to spend the whole time at She Never Quit this coming year?
Yeah, I think it was more, it was one of those deals, like I said, time is my enemy. And I had so many things on the books last year pre-planned. And so, I only had so much time available. And so, but this year I knew well in advance. So I'm planning to be there for the entire time. And I'm really looking forward to it also. So the G2 Ranch looks super amazing. And I can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, and I am excited to see that too. There's been some other events that have been there for other organizations that I work with, and I'm like, oh, they must be doing something right because they're attracting people. So this is good, and I am excited about the additional fishing, and that's something that I look forward to seeing. Hopefully, I can see someday like what you all are doing during fishing. I don't know. One year we had archery during the gun range part at one
Mm,
of the events, and I was able to go and see some of the afternoon activities. So,
right.
who knows what your schedule will be this year, but I'm always just there for whatever anyone wants me to help with. So,
Well, if nothing else, you and I may sneak out after dinner and go get that afternoon, that late evening bite too.
there you go. That would be good. That'd be a nice, what a little break and go decompress in between. Because even though it's fun to teach, and the ladies are just phenomenal women, sometimes it's nice to just have a little quiet time and go and relax and get a little getaway.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
that right there at dusk, they fish tend to show out a little bit. So we may have to hit that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And with Women's Outdoor Media Association, I'm looking at my Founders Award over here on the wall. That's what I keep looking at. Being a board member, do you have a lot of responsibilities? Are you just helping coordinate and organize? What kind of stuff are you doing with them?
Well, it's all very new because, like I said, I was just elected like last week.
Oh, very new then.
And so I do know that, I'm going to help them with the fishing side of it and, bring that more to the forefront because, predominantly it's been more the shooting sports that they've
Mhm.
focused. So now they're trying to branch out and hopefully I can help them with that and give them some contacts and you go to ICAST with them and introduce them to certain folks and, just anything we can get the ladies doing where they're outside is a good thing.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about ICAST. If what I was going to ask is if you went with them this summer, but if you just got elected, I don't know. Did you go this past summer to ICAST?
I didn't have time to go this summer because I had to spend 2 weeks in Canada. And then um, right after Canada, I learned that I qualified for the classic in Oklahoma. So I was home for just a few days and had to leave for that. So no, I did not have time to do ICAST this year. So I hope I get to do it next year. Um, Maybe I'll win again and get to go to the Pan Am. And so uh, that's always fun to do.
It sounds like it's a blast. And it sounds like also, I mean, you said that there's the different groups, the WBT, the ETLA and stuff. Imagine you make friends along the way since you're seeing some of the same people over and over again and stuff like that. When you go and you travel to these things, are you having to like what are some of your expenses? Are you having hotels? Do you bring a camper? What kind of how do you make it work?
So I am not a camper girl. I, I'm I don't do the camper and I don't do camping. So I'm a hotel motel girl. So yeah, I usually go and rent a room and stay throughout the tournament and fortunately a lot of the places where the tournaments are held, the marina has like a motel there, and generally a fishing motel is not the same price as a Holiday Inn. So that helps out a lot. So, but yeah, if you have to be there the night before to go to the meeting and, do the boat draws and all of that. And then, you fish the next day. If it's a 1 day event, then that's great. Then I've only got to stay one night. Generally I can, come home the Saturday and, but like I said, the LBAA generally have 2 day tournaments, and the Classic was a 3 day tournament. So I was there from Tuesday to Saturday.
And that seems like that could be a long time. I don't know. I've done some vacations that are longer in hotels, but it's something that I'm guessing the rewards of the fishing tournament itself, like just the experience of being out there and living a healthy life and stuff, has got to be great. But do you also have the expense of like an entry fee, and then are you winning money if you win the tournament?
So yeah, there are entry fees that you have to pay, and normally at least the top 3 spots are paid. You get a check. So I covered my expenses that I spent when I won second place in Oklahoma. So um, that always makes it nice.
Yeah, so that does make it nice. I think it's super cool, nice, of course. I mean, I imagine that's part of why people still do it and have fun doing tournaments, is because you want to try to be in the top three and kind of make your money back, anyways. Is my guess. Is that kind of correct?
That, and a lot of the ladies just do it just for the camaraderie. You know, it's women in sports, especially when you're not a teenager or 20 years old. There's not a lot of places to go and have just strictly a women in sports event. So, and so that makes it nice. It's a bunch of friends getting together and, hooping and hollering and carrying on and ragging on each other. And but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think a lot of them do it just strictly just because, it's a way to get out and be with other women.
Yeah, and at social and interaction, I've talked about it for a few years now about how important that is, because it seems like, especially some of the younger generations, and you talked about doing stuff with the youngsters, they aren't getting that social interaction as much. I mean, hopefully they're having, students at school that they can make friends with and stuff, but it seems like a lot of them are on their devices and doing that. So, different things that we do with women, it's like the the reward of seeing someone else be successful sometimes, to me, is the best thing. And like, I'm thinking of that because I have some mentored women's hunts that are coming up, and uh, most of the time, I'm not a hunter. I'm just there helping and making sure they're safe, or, helping them with their gear, giving them tips and suggestions. And then to see them be successful is so rewarding to me. So you had mentioned, and I still keep laughing about, kicking teeth in. And I know you don't mean that literally, but, it's like you said, the banter back and forth it's got to be fun. And just, you talked about the outdoors and vitamin D, but also that interaction, I'm sure, has helped with the health as well.
Oh yeah. So, it's totally a social event. Like I said, the competition is there, but at the same time, if you've got certain ones you can go to and go, okay, I used all of these. Do you have any of them? And they'll say, oh yeah, I got some over here, and they share with each other and they take care of each other. If somebody has boat problems or issues, you know, nobody thinks anything about, well, I got to go and get so and so because their boat's broke down. And so they take care of each other on the water. But like I said, they do have the competitive side to them, but at the same time they want to make sure that everybody comes in just like they went out and everybody's safe while they're out there doing it.
Yeah, that's outstanding. It's such a great thing that you guys are doing. And so you talked about, maybe you're out of whichever bait or whatever you have. What kind of gear, besides, your rod and your baits and stuff like that, what kind of gear would a woman need to go just bass fishing for the day?
So for the day, if you're not on a boat, basically your rod, your reel, and your baits. You can stand on the bank and you can go fishing. If you're in a boat, you need your PFD, personal flotation device. Anytime the outboard motor is cranked up, you need to have your PFD on. And so, because things happen so fast on the water that if you do get thrown, you want to make sure that you're going to float. And it doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are. When you hit that water at 60 miles an hour, it's like hitting the concrete. So, I will always preach, wear your PFD.
Yeah. And so basically not much gear required. You've got your tackle and then rod, reel, bait, PFD.
That's it.
Yeah.
If it's raining, you may want some rain gear. And if it's really cold, you may want to bundle up. But yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about fishing is you can go to Walmart, you can buy a rod and reel combo, and then you can go around the corner and you can buy a package of hooks and a spool of line and a bag of, plastic worms, and you can go fishing and catch fish. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on it to go out and enjoy it. I wish I had that mindset. I don't have that mindset. I spent a year buying gear and baits and,
When you get competitive, you're going to spend more money.
well, July of 24, we won ICAST, which qualified us for the Pan Am this year. So as soon as I got home, I knew we were going to be fishing for smallmouth, and we don't have smallmouth in Arkansas. So I knew that's what we were going to be doing. So I started buying baits last July.
Okay.
And that way I didn't have to do it all at one time. So, but every month, I would buy this and then I would buy that, and then something new would come out. Ooh, I bet that's really going to catch them, And so, yeah, I spent a year buying gear, and then, like I said, I threw one type of bait the whole 3 days I was there, and so, but that's how it works sometimes.
Hey friends, if you're looking for premium performance gear for your next adventure, look no further than Vormi. Their innovative wool technology is perfect for any outdoor activity. And the best part, you can also support the show by shopping through my affiliate link at vormi.com/Mia Anstine. We earn a little commission on your online purchases, excluding sale items, and it's no extra cost to you. Gear up for your next adventure with Vormi today. That's VOORMI.com/MIAANSTINE. Vormi.com/Mia Anstine.
And so we've talked about bass, you've largemouth, smallmouth. Do you fish for anything else, or is that pretty much it? You said sometimes you may come to Colorado for trout. Like, what other fish do you go after?
So the Frying Pan River is one of my favorite places to go and fish. I love to go there to Basalt and fish there at the Rudy Dam.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just so much fun. Now I do cheat and I use I don't use flies. I'm not a fly fisherman. I do carry my spinning rod, and I'll use a rooster tail or a panther martin or something. But yeah, I love to come out there and go trout fishing. Even if Joe and I make a trip out there for just a couple of days, we're going to have a rod in the vehicle with us, and by at least one time go fishing while we're there. They are fun and they are so pretty, and it's just great to just stand there on the side of the mountain with the river running in front of you, and all of God's glory around you.
Absolutely.
And we were actually on the Frying Pan one year, and we were catching fish. We caught quite a few fish that day. And we get back in the truck, and he looks at me and he goes, "My hands are cold." And I said, "Me too." And we're just, basically in t-shirts, light jacket maybe. And we turn the vehicle on, and the temperature comes up, and it was like 30 degrees or something. It was like, it doesn't feel that cold.
You didn't have the humidity.
Yeah. I mean, 30 degrees, you're dying because your bones hurt. But, the sun was shining that day, and it was just beautiful. Oh, I caught about a 4-pound brown that day too. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
My
that'll make you warm up.
Yeah, yeah. So my blood pressure was kind of up that day.
How fun. And do you ever keep any of the fish, or is it all catch and release everything you do?
Mostly we do catch and release. A couple of times maybe in the fall, when it first starts cooling off and the water temperatures start cooling off, we'll go uh, fishing for food. And when we do that, we like to keep this. If it's bass, we like to keep 16 inches or under because we don't like the big fish. And the more of those you can get out of your waters, especially if it's a lake, the better off it is for the fishery anyway. So uh, we keep a if we catch a bream or a crappie, we may keep those, but generally we just catch and release because we do have a freezer full, and we don't believe in taking more out than what we're putting in, and so I want it to be there for the next generation.
Absolutely. And so if you had one tip to give to somebody who wants to go fishing, or if they are already an angler, what's one tip or advice you would give them?
Just keep at it and have fun at it. You know, once you catch that first fish, if you haven't already, you'll be hooked. So
Yeah. Hopefully not literally hooked, but sometimes that
hopefully,
happens too.
uh, but yeah, it's so much fun. You got that. Anglers have the saying, "The tug is my drug," and
Mm,
so tug of that fish on the end of your line, that's your drug, and that's your adrenaline rush. And once you get him in the boat and or on the bank, and you can look at him and take your picture with him and put him back in there and watch him go back in the water just as healthy as he come out of the water. To me, there's just something about that that's just amazing. And
absolutely.
only sport that you can capture, catch, whatever you want to call it, your prey, and put them back in the same condition that they came to you in. So, if you're deer hunting or turkey hunting or squirrel hunting, in order to gain the animal, you have to put it down. But in
Right.
fishing, you can still put it back and it's alive.
Right. And I was going to say trapping is one also, but that's different episode. I'll link to trapping in the show notes if anybody wants to learn more about trapping. Or if you have questions about trapping, shoot me a message on social media and I'll answer questions for you about that. But that also depends on your state and your state's laws. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. And fish handling is something that we teach a lot. We do a lot of fly fishing clinics, and I fish with whatever, but we teach a lot about fish handling, especially with trout, because a lot of people who have fished for some of the more hardy fish don't understand how delicate a trout is. So that's something that I've been trying to get one of my friends on to talk about trout as well. But maybe in a future episode, we'll get him on here and talk about different fish.
They are their own species, and like you said, they're delicate. You have to be very gentle with them. You can't have them out of the water very long. You can't hold them very tight. You want to make sure their slime coat stays on when you do hook them, and like I said, keep them in the water as much as you can. Even while you're taking pictures, pick them up, put them right back down in the water, and then pick them up and put them right back down in the water, because they are fragile, but they're beautiful.
They are beautiful. And you talked about your big brown trout. That it's so nice to fight a big fish like that, but they also get very tired. So that's like I said, we can talk trout on a different episode, but I just was super impressed about your season, and I wanted to kind of share the excitement of your season with the listeners, as well as some fishing, and now a little bit about the Women's Outdoor Media Association too.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year, and I'm just hoping I can keep up the momentum and keep it going into 25. So
All right. Well,
here,
we'll be rooting for you. Will you let us know, for the listeners, will you let them know where they can follow your adventures and where they can cheer you on too?
so I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Rhonda Pitts Fishing on Facebook and Instagram, and also there's just Rhonda Pitts. Last name is P as in Paul, ITTS. If you're not looking at the screen, so yeah, come follow me and share my adventures.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me on the show and for sharing some inspiration with the listeners. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Mia. It's been great. It was great meeting you last year, and I'm looking forward to April, and we're going to get to hang out and do it again.
Hey, this is Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, host of the Armed Lutheran Radio podcast, reminding you that the podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the great content at selfdefenseradio.net.